afternoon, South by Southwest Festival goers. My name is Alex Duck, and I am the South by Southwest Marketing Coordinator and Director. We are here for the South by Southwest Professional Panel, and which has been discussing controversial topics in our nation's government all week long. And before we go into the topics, I'd like to introduce our three very knowledgeable panel members. First, we have Casey Malden, the CEO of Austin's Own Mood Media, which deals in social media issues all around the country and has many accounts overseas and everywhere else. And then I'm very excited to introduce Alexa Rodriguez, our senator from Texas, and also Chelsea Ruiz, who is a concerned social media user from this great city of Austin, Texas. The topic we will be discussing today is, should the government be able to monitor our social media and what we do on the internet for the sake of national security? And before we go into this, I'd like to cover some ground rules. For the panelists, they'll each have 45 seconds to answer each question. And the audience, please hold all your comments, questions, and expletives till the end, and please silence all your cell phones. Awesome. So our first question, which will be for all the panelists, we'll go down the line, is, what is your stance regarding government surveillance of social media on the internet? Casey, will you please go first?
Like you said, my name is Casey Malden. I'm a CEO of a major tech company. I am in between the two, for it and against it. There are a lot of things that happen online. There are a lot of people that get on the internet, so there are a lot that happens. But we don't see like what people do like in the back of the internet, like where the government wants to monitor everything. I see how people don't like it because it's our own personal privacy. Like, we have our own accounts, we can do what we want on those accounts, but it's also like an invasion of space. We think of social media as being a very public place where you post things and everyone can see it. So if you're going to post something online, you might want to think about if you could say that in real life too.
Awesome, thank you. Now, Senator Rodriguez, will you please answer the same question? What is your stance on government surveillance and
Hello, my name is Alexa Rodriguez, and I'm the Senator of Texas, and I'm in favor of the government surveillance because I believe it's to the greater good for the country. What we all fear as Americans is another attack against the United States, and I worry that America will stop being an open society. Because of that, we have to compromise in order to guarantee our security in our country. So Americans love to share data, so we post a lot of pictures and video on social media without a second thought. So why are people worrying about the government invading their privacy when they have voluntarily uploading stuff on social media?
Thank you, Senator. Now, Chelsea, what is your stance on government surveillance on the internet and social media?
Okay. Hi, my name is Chelsea, and I am a concerned U.S. citizen. I am against government surveillance. I believe every citizen should have privacy, like the right to their own privacy in their homes. I believe this gives the government more power. The Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution provides the right for the people to be secure in their homes, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches. So the government interference, I believe this should apply to. According to New York Times, PRISM, which is the planning tool for resources, is a highly secretive government program that was brought to light a few years ago by a government whistleblower, just showing an example of how much larger that scale of recording and data there is.
Thank you, Chelsea. I'm sorry, we're out of time. But I'd like to go into the individual questions for all of our very knowledgeable panel members. We're going to start off with Casey. Casey, do you think the American citizens would change their behavior on social media if they were more educated on the extent that the government was surveying them?
Yes, because if American citizens were more educated on what the government was monitoring, they would maybe be okay with it. They need to know what exactly the government is monitoring, and they need to know that the government is really just monitoring us and what we do on the internet for protection, and it's for our own good. There's an article from the USA Today that says Americans have changed their approach toward technology once they found out they were being monitored. A quarter of Americans who were aware of the NSA changed their behavior on emails, search engines, cell phone use, text messages, and things
you very much. Senator Rodriguez, is internet surveillance a necessary part of national security?
I do believe that internet surveillance is a necessary part of national security because in today's world, technology has increased and we're required new methods to gather information. And I believe that the way to prevent attacks has to do with intelligence. So in order to prevent attacks like 9/11, the government has to know what's going to happen before it's too late. The current threat we have right now is ISIS, and it requires intelligence collection efforts from social media sites as Twitter. One NSA official told the Washington Post that PRISM, a program used by NSA to gather information from the internet, provided a field of dots which allowed authorities to connect the relevant ones.
Thank you so much. All right, Chelsea, could you explain why the government surveillance on the internet and social media concerns you as a everyday citizen?
I believe it concerns me because it affects so many other people in the whole world, and many individuals don't realize that the government's doing this. A Pew Research Center survey conducted between 2014 and 2015, revelations of government spying caused many Americans to become more aware of this, and in doing so, they changed their whole behaviors on social media, text messages, calling. So because of all this, the government won't be able to detect what information they will receive will be accurate. So in fact, it will just be lost cause and wasted time.
Right. Thank you. All right, back to Casey. Do one more round of individual questions. As a CEO of a company who deals widely with social media, what are some rules and regulations that you think the government could implement to ease the public's mind but still protect its citizens?
Okay, so the government monitors our actions, or the government monitoring our actions isn't a horrible thing just because they want to see what's going on behind the scenes, I think. And I think the government should educate internet users more just so they know like what exactly they're being monitored on. CNN says that there's a watch list that the government uses that takes out specific words if they find some, and those words are the ones they're looking for that would lead to suspicion. So, and that would be like crime or drugs or terrorists, so then they would get more into like what they've been talking about behind the scenes of the internet. And people, I could see how people don't agree with the situation because it is kind of going behind their backs, the government, and it's, yeah, so I can see how people agree with it for protection, but also don't agree with it because it's invasion of privacy.
Thank you. Senator Rodriguez, does government surveillance inhibit our liberties just as much as a response to another terrorist attack would?
Well, I do not believe that government surveillance blocks our liberties more than helping to respond to another terrorist attack, because a Pew Research Center survey in December, they found out that 56% of Americans were more concerned that the government anti-terrorist policies have not gone far enough to protect the country, and compared to 28% who expressed their concern that the policies have gone too far in restricting their civil liberties. The Obama administration has also defended the NSA programs as something necessary in protecting the U.S. national security, and the Congress, as well as the courts, carefully oversee the programs.
Thank you so much. And then the last question for Chelsea. Do you think that most everyday citizens know or even care about the government's extent of surveillance on them?
I don't believe that many individuals realize, and according to epic.org, many internet users cannot identify the most basic tracking tool, which is a cookie, and that's what most internet browsers have blocked. But I don't believe that, contrary to belief, the Obama administration, Senator James Simpson Brenner, the longtime lawmaker from Wisconsin, that even compared today's government surveillance to Big Brother from George Orwell's 1984 book. So just kind of comparing the contrast to that is kind of overwhelming, and that's why I'm
so much. That concludes our questions here. To recap, we have CEO of Mood Media, Casey Malden, who is kind of, she sees the reasons why the government should be surveilling our social media, but also sees her customer base as a group of people whose privacy needs to be protected. And Senator Rodriguez is for government surveillance of social media to protect our national security. And then Chelsea, our everyday social media user, is against government surveillance because she believes privacy is the utmost priority. I'd like to thank you so much for attending this South by Southwest panel, and I'd like to open up the floor for questions. Yes.
My question is for panelist number one. So you mentioned how the government wants to decide what's for our own good. Do you feel that would be a dangerous thing, and why do you think the government has that right to decide what is good for us?
So the government, the question was, should the government be able to decide what's good for us and what's not, and if that's a dangerous route that we could go down?
I think the government is monitoring us and just kind of watching what we're doing so we don't do anything too crazy, like for instance talking about drugs and crime and terrorists. I think they just want to not make that happen and try and protect us a little more.
The American Revolution was crazy too.
Well, there was
Just saying.
it's like internet, so it's like today's
Right.
world. I don't know.
Okay.
Thank you. Next question? Yes.
I have a question for the senator. Where do you draw the line between safety and privacy?
The question was where the line is drawn between safety and privacy.
Well, as we have heard, it's a very controversial topic, and well, the NSA is not doing anything illegal. They're all just the Congress knows what they're doing. So, the NSA is not the only one who's gathering our information. There's also commercial private businesses who also gather our information to find what we like and what we see. So I believe it's a good thing for the government to.
Thank you. Any more questions? Yes.
So panelist 3, I know you talked about the similarities between these actions and the book 1984. Is that a direction you see us going towards?
So the question was in reference to the book 1984, do you see this as, with the government controlling privacy, do you see this as a slippery slope into this kind of dystopia of the book 1984?
I just thought it was very interesting how even the representative of the senator or the representative of Congress made that distinction, and I kind of feel like we are, because not only are our monitor, the government monitoring our everyday internet uses, but they're also installing cameras every day and just kind of getting our facial recognition on that as well. So I feel like it's leaning towards it. So it's kind of a dark, gloomy scene into the future.
Thank you. Any more questions? Right here.
So panelists are thinking, how important is personal privacy to you? Why do you need that personal privacy?
I feel like even though, I found the research about 56% of Americans don't really care if government surveillance is on them so much, but just on other people. But it's just the fact that it's costing about $20 billion just to get this information, and only hold it for about 5 years or so. And it's just government money that could be spent elsewhere. So that's kind of how I feel about that.
Awesome. Do you have a question?
Yes. So the government constitutionally is supposed to have a warrant for collecting and intruding into people's personal privacy and possessions. What do you feel justifies the government being able to do mass data collection?
Who's that question directed to? Awesome. So I guess the question was, the government needs a warrant to obtain these kind of information on a small scale. So how does that kind of relate to these these data mining really that the government's doing?
Well, I agree that they need a warrant to see what you're doing on the internet. But I don't know if that would help, like, or, I mean, it would help with the terrorists and whatever they're doing, but I don't know if it would help, like, the data mining stuff.
These are hard questions, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'll withdraw it.
We have time for one more question.
Can I add to that?
Yes.
Okay, so, a terrorist don't know what he's doing, he's not gonna, like, they're not need like a warrant, and they're not gonna like go to a terrorist and be like, hey, here's a warrant. So, so I think that, the warrant will be used to like a normal citizen who might be doing something illegal.
Thank you, Senator. That concludes our question answering period. Thank you so much for attending the panel. Please have a safe drive and come back next year.